Chad. Swag Kelly, living up to the name. Very excited to have you on, and congratulations on the extension.
Thank you very much for having me on.
So I know you've been through a lot in your football career, highs and lows, but so you take a moment to let this sink in that you've now found a home here in Toronto, a 3-year contract extension, the highest paid player in the CFL. It must be just a really nice reflection point for you to say, this is kind of what you work hard for, you go through the ups and downs for, and now you've got a great home here in Toronto, and the fans love you.
Yeah, definitely it is. It feels like you're appreciative. It feels like everybody, really wants you. They don't just say it now, they've shown it. I think the biggest thing about the whole, contract and everything is about wins and losses, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's about what you can do, but also, they want to see wins. And, I think that's a result of, a lot of hard work and dedication that has went into it. But, we're still learning each and every day about each other, our coaches and myself, and how to get better each and every day. But right now, I think we have such a great workplace that, everybody felt comfortable in doing what they did.
When did things click for you, Chad? When did you know that Toronto was where you wanted to be for the long term, given the journey that you've been on in your career? When did it fall into place for you?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really put a definite answer on that. I just think that over time, getting to know the guys and, even this off season, being able to partake with, the coaches in the meetings and watch film together and stuff like that, it just kind of felt like a natural place to be. And what better place to be than in Toronto? I mean, this city is so beautiful. It's clean. It's colorful. It, has every type of culture that you want. I've met my girlfriend here. I just think there's so many great things about this city. And, this is a place where I see myself, having a family and being here in the long term.
Did you head down to the exhibition, the CNE at all over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah. We went down there. It's a good time. It's obviously chaos, all the time. And you see it 24/7, especially when you're working over there every day. But I think it's a fantastic thing they do every year. And, it's great for the city to bring people together. But, they got to bring the prices down just a little bit, I think, for a lot more people to be able to afford it.
Preach.
Yeah, we agree. Well, we make sure the right people are listening on that one. Speaking of the CNA, the Labor Day Classic and on Monday in Hamilton, they got the flyover. It's always a big weekend, CFL, and the Argos are now 9-1. Big time convincing win over the rival Tiger Cats on Monday. I mean, the city's really come alive. That's a big rivalry game. To perform that well against a team like that, it probably was a big moment in this season so far.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime that, you're going against your rivals, you got to make sure you're on your P's and Q's. And did we play the best? No. Did we have some ups and downs? Yes. I think all three phases of the game kind of had, some ups and downs. And, we're the most penalized team, and we got to fix that, right? And we probably should have put up a lot more points. I know personally I wish I would have had a few things back. But, it's about learning. It's about, experience. But at least versus our rival team, that we know this is a huge game, not only for ourselves, but even in the East division, that was huge. And to be able to go into their place and do it up, I mean, what more can you ask for?
You said after you signed the contract that you acknowledge that there's more pressure now after the contract. Everyone's looking at you to be the best player out there. So how do you think you're going to handle that extra pressure and make sure it doesn't become too overbearing for you?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, honestly, it's just about putting in even more work. You put in enough work. You understand everything that comes with being the quarterback. But now having the pressure of, hey, you got to perform at the very highest level is also even some more pressure. So you got to watch more film. You got to put in more work. On and off the field. I think at the end of the day, as long as we're winning, I mean, people aren't going to say much about being the best as long as you're winning.
Chatting with Chad Kelly, Toronto Argos quarterback, Grey Cup champion, Argos 9-1 to start the season. Rightfully so. We hear a lot about the way you're leading this team. We talked to Pinball Clemens, and he was sure to say, you know what, this team has a lot of depth. There's a lot of players that aren't getting as much of the press. Who for you this season has been instrumental in getting your team to 9-1. Like, this is an electric start. The fan base is really on board with the Toronto Argonauts, but maybe some guys deserve a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think everybody has just kind of bought in from day one. Even going back to training camp, Coxie was out for a little bit, but I made sure he stayed back. Didi being the older guy, you got Cam Phillips who was behind Markeith at the time, and Markeith had got hurt, and then Cam stepped up. So obviously you got Curly who I think has just been a natural Canadian player who does a lot of great things with a lot of great speed. Then you guys got a guy like David Unger who comes over from Hamilton, and he's an explosive guy. He's witty. He has that grit. And then you got Brissett, who I just think is one of the most athletic guys I've ever seen in the sport ever before, and testament to his genes and having his brother in the NBA. But then you look at the guys up front. I mean, all those guys up front have an edge to them, and that's kind of what I see with this team. Everybody has a chip on their shoulder, and not many teams have that, I think. And so it started literally from day one training camp that you're like, okay, a lot of these guys want to prove their worth, and a lot of guys were on contract years and still are, right? And so I think you gotta take that into the equation, that guys are really fighting for their job and fighting for their life and not just kind of rolling through the motions.
Well, you obviously were drafted into the NFL after your great college career, spent some time with the Broncos and the Colts. How do you think your time in the NFL prepared you for being a leader here at the CFL level?
Yeah, I think just stepping into, an NFL meeting room is kind of unique in a situation of, the quarterback is the guy who's really running the show. And, what I mean by that is, yeah, coaches are going to come up with the plays, but the quarterback is the one who has to be out there and see what he sees. And, if a safety's playing inside leverage and, you got to be able to play with them at the top, we got to make sure that we are getting our full depth. And that's kind of just being on the same page so we don't, just kind of bleed into routes, or we don't, we have to make sure we get our depth. It's about fundamentals and technique each and every day. And being in an NFL, locker room and meeting room, that's what coaches always harped on, was the fundamentals and technique of playing football. And, it might sound cliche to say, but every rep has its own, identity to it. So we just have to make sure that it's a repetitive thing, but, it even goes back to having the basic fundamentals of knowing your route depth and where you need to be when I'm in my drop. So
whatever you guys are doing during your reps, it's certainly working out. And I ask you this question, fully understanding that you just signed a contract with the Argos, but the way you're playing, you might be generating some interest down south eventually. Is that something that you're still interested in if it comes up, or have you really found a home in your mind in the Canadian Football League here?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely committed to being here. Now, am I gonna run right now and say I'm going to the NFL? No. Am I gonna say that I'm gonna stay here? That's my goal, is to stay here. I look at this team and we're gonna be good for a lot of years to come. So I mean, that's what's absolutely amazing. We have fantastic ownership. We have a fantastic group of players and coaches that, I feel like this is my home and this is where I want to be. So I'm excited for next couple of years, but, I'm not ruling out any situation right now, but I'm definitely fully committed to being here.
Last one for you, Chad. On the heels of a great season and starting up this one, you sign a contract, you get a big, a good signing bonus, let's say. Did you buy anything with that? Because we always hear about guys going out and they spoil themselves. You get something, maybe you just bought something at the CNE because that was expensive enough. But is there anything you did to treat yourself with that 3-year contract extension?
For myself, I'm more of a family guy. I like to, help out family and friends. I made a nice little diamond purchase for my girlfriend, so that was my gift.
For the hand?
For the earring.
Okay, I was gonna say, do we have something coming in the future? Well, that's exciting. Congrats, and I'm sure she'll love it either way.
Hold on, Chad. I know you said after AJ Ouellette's excessive touchdown celebration, you did the Thor celebration and got fined for it. I know you said you're going to be covering that fine for him. So is that something that's going to have to continue with every player that gets a fine at your team now, or just him because he's on the offensive side of the ball?
He told me that he was going to do it, before the game or whatever, and not thinking about the repercussions, of course, and not realizing, hey, you can't really bring a prop onto the field, and I had no recollection of what was going to happen, and so. If another guy comes up and tells me he's going to do a celebration with a prop, I'm going to tell him no. And if he does do it, he's going to have to cover that. But because that instance, I will be covering it because it slipped past my mind.
Oh, no,
Amazing.
that's
Class
very fair
move,
of you.
yeah.
That's a good leader right there, Chad. Appreciate you jumping on. Congrats on the great season so far and the extension. Looking forward to seeing what the rest of the season comes. Oh, I'm going to come to the game on Saturday, so I'll see you up close and personal. I'll be screaming real loud, all right? And I won't bring any props.
I love it. I appreciate you guys having me on. Go Argos.
Of course. Thanks so much.
Chad.